Everyone talks about self-improvement. Have you noticed that? It's everywhere. So much talk and yet little to no action from so many. What if we narrowed down the topic and made it more digestible? No one really has all the time in the world to think about how to improve themselves, right? So what if we start with just 30 minutes? Yes, that's all, 30 minutes or less to improve your life. Welcome to the Sandy Adams Show. This is where we chat about business, life, and everything in between. Funny thing, at the time of this recording, I'm actually in my office in front of a huge window with a hummingbird feeder attached to the window right next to my computer. Yes, that's right. So I can watch the hummingbirds feed as I work. The best $13 I ever spent. And it's on my list of things that actually help me mentally. I really enjoy it. It makes me happy and it gives me a bit of, humor, enjoyment, whatever in the middle of the day. So let's get back to the topic. Everyone talks about self-improvement. Have you noticed? It's everywhere. So much talk and yet little to no action from so many. But what if we narrowed down the topic and made it more digestible? No one has all the time in the world to think about self-improvement, right? Or how we can improve ourselves. So what if we start with just 30 minutes or less? That's right, 30 minutes or less to improve your life. Now, let me rewind for a moment and go back to this past weekend. I made the decision Sunday morning to rearrange my bedroom, specifically my bed and dresser that the TV sits on. Now, without going into the proverbial rabbit hole about why I did that, part of the reasons were I had not been sleeping through the night, the room was hot, I worked from my bed with my laptop several hours each day. So the issue was the bed was situated between two windows and faced the wall with a closet and the bathroom door. Sunday morning, I decided to move the bed closer to the AC vent and make it where I could look out the window and not at the closet door. Monday morning, when I woke up, and it was very simple. I just simply moved it from one wall to the other wall, literally like 5 feet, and turned the direction of it, okay? So Monday morning when I woke up, I was floored at how much of a mental difference I had right then versus Sunday morning when the bed still faced the closet. And now, working from my bed with my laptop, I'm actually more productive. I was in a better mind space Monday morning, and it was easier to work and focus throughout the day. All of this by simply rearranging my bed, which took, as I said, all of maybe 15 minutes. Since I have hardwood and the bed was easy to reposition without dismantling it. Now, I realize that's not always the case for all of you out there, yet this can still give you ideas and ways to take action that are actually very simple ways. Now, there are tons, well, maybe not lots of ways, maybe lots of ways, not tons of ways. You can get the idea, right? So yes, there are lots of ways you can improve your life in 30 minutes or less. I picked out 5 that have had a major impact on my life. Simple, yet with huge results. So let's run through them first, and then I'll dive into each one. Of course, number 1 is rearranging your sleeping area. Number 2 is to develop a consistent morning routine and a nighttime routine while we're at it. Number 3 is to eat lunch away from your desk. Yes. Number 4, get outside. And number 5, practice gratitude. Now, number 1, rearranging the bedroom or the sleeping area. I've obviously already kind of gone into that. I'm still waking up this week. This is day 4. I'm still waking up a bit more refreshed, so I cannot say enough about this action. Going to sleep, I have a better frame of mind. Waking up in the morning, I have a better frame of mind, and I'm more productive when I choose to work from my bedroom. Now, let's dive into number 2, which is to develop a consistent morning routine and a nighttime routine. Okay. Now, this one, I'm still working on building these habits. I'm not perfect. None of us are. There are specific things I do consistently in the morning, and I've been very consistent throughout. However, in the evening, I am less consistent, specifically in the colder months, and I'll get into that in a second. So mornings for me revolve around my coffee. Back in 2018, I discovered the French press. Now, not as fancy as I originally thought. People laugh at me when I tell them this. I use it every morning now. The entire process grounds me, no pun intended, and sets me up for better productivity. I cannot stress it enough. I love the whole concept of boiling the water, pouring it in, grinding the coffee grounds. It's just, I don't know, it just really just kind of grounds me. Late evenings in the warmer months, I usually stop working about 4 to 5 p.m., depending on the heat, and I go for at least a 2-mile walk. I listen to an audiobook that has nothing to do with my work, which helps turn my brain off and prepare me for after work hours since I work out of my house. See, the issue was I can be in my office because I work from home. I can be in my office literally until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and that's not good for me. Now, when I still had dogs, my dogs have passed away. When I still had dogs, they were very good about, it's dinner time. You need to stop and go feed us. But since they passed away, there's no one and there's nothing to tell me it's time to stop work. So for me, and sometimes I would go eat dinner and then I'd go back and work some more. So going for a walk every day had a multitude of purposes. One, I wanted to get exercise. Two, I needed to force myself to get out of the house. Number 3, I have some issues with my back, and the walking was actually helping me. And it's not like I'd never walked before because my dogs both required at least a mile of walking every single day. So I was already doing that. But with elderly dogs, you obviously can't walk as fast. So I needed that exercise. And this was something that I really started once both of them had passed away. And I actually schedule it on my calendar for that. Now, I think I've digressed a little bit. So let's dive into how you can actually create better routines, right? First up, in the mornings, establish a consistent routine. It not only jumpstarts your day, but it sets the stage for success. By waking up at, say, the same time every day, drinking water, and engaging in some type of movement, you're actually priming your mind and body for productivity and vitality throughout the day. Now, on to nighttime routines, switching off screens, right? Switching off those blue screens, reflecting on your day, writing down things that maybe you had not written down earlier in the day and you don't want to forget about them, because that has a tendency to cause us anxiety. If we don't write it down, we're afraid we're going to forget it. And preparing for the next day, those may seem small, but the benefits are actually immense. See, these practices, they help promote relaxation, they improve your sleep quality, and they reduce stress. And they allow you to wake up refreshed and ready to tackle what the day has. And you're actually prepared. Because there's nothing I hate worse than waking up in the morning and I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball, right? So by having, your list of things that you've got to get done, getting everything out of your brain, preparing everything that maybe you need to leave with when you leave the house the next day, all of that helps you have a better mind space. Now, let's move on to number 3. This one, I didn't do this for years. Eating lunch away from your desk. Back when I worked at corporate America, I was the employee that stayed and routinely would eat at my desk and work through lunch. I'm going to work through lunch and eat at my desk, okay? And, some of that it was cost effective. I didn't want to go into the lunchroom. It was a smaller company. I didn't want to go into the lunchroom and I wanted some time away from everybody, okay? Now, when I lived closer to my work, I could run home really quickly, eat there, and then drive back, which was kind of good. I got out of the house, but I still always felt rushed. And when I started working from my house, which was back in 2010, when I started working from my house, I suddenly had no boundaries, right? At work, you have boundaries. You're at work. You have home, right? And when you work out of your house, I do have a separate office. So when I leave it, I shut the door. But I didn't have any boundaries. And that's one of the hardest things about working from home is that there are no boundaries. And if you don't put in a lot of regulations on yourself, then it's really easy to always stop and start. Oh, I got to go put clothes in the washer. Oh, I've got to go turn the dishwasher on. Things like, oh, I need to go sweep really quickly. Things like that. But taking a break from your desk to eat lunch, it may seem like a small change, but its benefits are huge. Stepping away from work allows you to recharge and refuel both physically and mentally. It gives you a chance to savor your meal, appreciate the flavors, and enjoy a moment of relaxation. This break can actually produce increased productivity and creativity as your brain gets the chance to rest and rejuvenate. Additionally, eating away from your desk encourages social interaction, whether it's chatting with colleagues or simply people watching in some place, a busy restaurant. It's a simple yet powerful way to improve your overall well-being and make the most of your workday. Now, what do I do now? I get up from my desk, I go into the kitchen, I fix my lunch, I either eat in the kitchen or when it's not too hot and it's, nice outside, I'll go sit out in the front yard. I'll take my headphones, I'll put them in. I listen to an audiobook that has nothing to do with work. And I'll sit and I'll eat my lunch. I'll drink my water, my tea, whatever it is. And then, I may stop the audiobook and just watch. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. There is a small pond across the street, maybe, 50 yards. And there are all these geese around. Now we have baby geese. So I can sit and watch them. And we have all kinds of squirrels and everything in the yard, like, a lot of people do when they have large yards and trees. But I do realize I'm very blessed about that. But I take advantage of that. Now, if it's raining, I still stay in the kitchen. I completely shut off for at least 30 minutes. Now, I don't typically take an hour for lunch, but I do take at least 30 minutes. Now, number 4, which I've kind of already mentioned, is get outside. Now, notice I did not say exercise. But y'all, this one for me, as I talked about earlier, is huge with a capital Huge. I grew up on a farm and would be outside all the time. My mom either wanted me outside or asleep. That way I wasn't getting underneath her feet. Now, as I said, during the pandemic, when I lived in Houston, I would take my 2 dogs and we would go down to Galveston Bay. I'd park so the back of the Jeep faced the beach and we'd sit in the back. I'd read and my pups could watch the waves, or we would go on long drives on the back roads. As I said, both of them were older. They had hip problems, so they couldn't walk a whole lot. But being outside now clears my head. I specifically make time every day to go outside, and I stack habits. I forget the book that it talks about habit stacking, but what I do is, so as you notice, when I go and exercise, I listen to an audiobook, right? When I go outside for lunch, I'm also outside. So I'm outside eating lunch. So I'm stacking those habits. So it's really good when you can take good habits and stack them on top of each other. And I always try to be present. So that's why I typically only find one thing that has to occupy my brain. So I have a pond out in front of my house. So I literally do laps. So I don't necessarily have to think about that process. I can focus on the audiobook. And the same thing with eating. I can focus on the audiobook, and the other thing I'm doing, the other activity, doesn't require a lot of thought other than, putting the fork up to your mouth. Now, let's move on to number 5. Now, this one, practice gratitude. This is a bit more personal for me. Back in 2017, after I had lost my mom and gone through a really bad relationship breakup, gratitude and choosing to be happy every day was the very thing that got me out of bed. Well, that and the fact my 2 dogs and my cat demanded to be fed. Practicing gratitude is like flipping a switch that illuminates the brighter side of life. By acknowledging and appreciating those blessings, big and small, we surround ourselves each day and it invites positivity and contentment into our lives. This simple act of practicing gratitude, of being grateful for something, this simple act has a ripple effect. It shifts our focus from what we're lacking in our mind to what we have in our mind, from what went wrong to what went right. See, it takes just as much energy to think negatively or talk about what somebody else has that you don't. It takes just as much energy to do that as it does to remind yourself what you do have, right? It's a powerful tool that transforms not only how we perceive the world, but also how we navigate through it. Ultimately, this leads us to a more joyful and meaningful life. Now, I talk a lot about how mindset, the words that you say to yourself, they actually prevent action or cause you to have different actions or bad actions. So keep that in mind when we talk about this. Now, let's quickly recap the 5 ways you can improve your life in less than 30 minutes. Number 1, rearranging your sleeping area. Number 2, develop a consistent morning routine and a nighttime routine. Number 3, eat lunch away from your desk. Number 4, get outside at least once a day. And number 5, practice gratitude. That one, I have an asterisk beside, right? Now, before we wrap up, I want to introduce you to a tool that's been a game changer for me, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, and countless others with improving our daily lives. And that's my very popular series of 5 minutes a day gratitude journals. These journals I created, and they revolve around 90 days of practicing gratitude to change your mindset and thus your life. These journals aren't just notebooks. They're pathways to a more fulfilling life, a better mindset. Regular gratitude journaling has been shown to result in 5% to 15% increases in optimism and 25% increased sleep quality. By capturing what we're thankful for each day, it guides us towards a mindset of abundance and joy, and it improves our overall well-being. When you constantly are reminding yourself of what you have in your life. Because those people that are constantly complaining or constantly saying, well, she's got that or he's got that or whatever, you're actually cutting off your mind's ability to think about how you can go forward. Because you're so caught up in that other person instead of focusing on what you have and how you can go forward, right? So if you're ready to invest in yourself, enhance your mindset, and cultivate a life filled with gratitude, head on over to my website at sandy-adams.com/books with an S on the end to get your hands on my gratitude journals. I've got several designs, and I think one of them will speak right to you. And they're great gifts as well. Over Christmas, I had several people that bought several of them just to hand out to coworkers, to gift to their friends, to gift to their brothers and sisters. So many options for these. Thank you for being here today, by the way. I make these podcasts truly for you and to document the journey of business and life, because they're kind of entwined. It would mean the world to me if you left a review. I know I ask every episode, and I know you're oh so tired of this. But if you're hearing this and you haven't left yet, have a little bit of a mindset shift. If you could spend 30 seconds to leave a review for this podcast, y'all, I read every single one of them. And when you tag me on Instagram stories, I make sure to personally respond. Yes, you can even screenshot this episode and go and tag me at official Sandy Adams on Instagram. Yes, you and I, we're out here working our butts off, doing the thing called life. And we're making mindset shifts that not only impact our lives, but our businesses, our families, and our futures. There's so many things that can improve your life, improve your business, get you from point A to point B and farther out. Much love and have a fantastic rest of the week. Thank you for listening to The Sandy Adams Show.